You'll never be good enough for me. You're just a situationship, my girlfriend yelled. In front of her coworkers, I didn't argue, I just kicked them all out and watched her lose her mind while I was with someone better. Hey Reddit, I threw a party for my girlfriend's work promotion. She thanked me by calling me a situationship in front of her boss and coworkers. Get ready for this one, 'cause it gets wild. I, 29 male, was with my girlfriend Kara, 27 female, for 4 years. I met her at my buddy Jace's birthday party. She was wearing this dark green dress, laughing at something her friend said, and when our eyes met, something clicked. She had her place across town. I had mine, a two-bedroom in the Arts District, $1,800 a month. She worked as a talent acquisition specialist for a biotech startup called Nexion. Ambitious as heck, always networking, always talking about building something bigger. I was a quality control supervisor at a food manufacturing plant. Steady hours, decent pay, not glamorous. She was climbing. I was comfortable. The imbalance was already there. I just didn't want to see it. Here's the thing, though. I'd had my suspicions for a while. The phone always angled away when she texted. The team dinners that never included the team. Showing up late smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. Taking calls in my bathroom with the water running. The usual greatest hits. She didn't argue like a person. She argued like HR. But I kept my mouth shut. Because I needed proof. Because you don't make moves without documentation. The night everything went to pieces was supposed to be a celebration. Nexion had just closed a major partnership with some European healthcare network. Big deal, lots of money. Kara wanted to throw a party at my place. Not just friends. A full event with half her office, and people whose names I'd never heard in 4 years. I spent Saturday cleaning while she was at a quick meeting that turned into 5 hours. Hit the grocery store twice because I forgot ice like a total amateur. She breezed through the door around 4, barely looking at anything I'd done. Already on her phone, smiling at something on the screen. Babe, this looks amazing. Oh, John's bringing that imported stuff he was talking about. The good bottle. John, her boss. The VP of talent acquisition, who'd been mentoring her for nearly a year. The guy whose name kept showing up in conversations like an unwanted house guest. People started showing up around 7. The apartment filled up fast. Everyone dressed nice, upscale nice, and I suddenly felt underdressed in my jeans and button-up. These were her people, her world. I handled the bar for the first hour at my own party. A few people made small talk, but nobody really cared about the answers. I was furniture, a service provider. Around 9, I was in the kitchen grabbing more ice when I heard her voice cut through the music. Honestly, I don't know why I'm still with him. I stopped. The bag of ice in my hands went still. She was standing near the balcony with 3 people from her office, glasses in hand. That casual posture people have when they're gossiping about someone who isn't there. I could see them through the doorway. I recognized 2 of them. Victor, some senior recruiter who always looked like he was smelling something bad. Another talent specialist who'd never said more than 2 words to me. The third one I didn't know. Victor said something I couldn't catch. Then louder. Come on, he seems like a decent guy. Kara laughed. Not her real laugh. The other one, the one that meant she was about to say something cruel and wanted plausible deniability. Decent doesn't get you anywhere in life, Victor. Decent doesn't open doors or get you into the rooms that matter. She took a sip from her glass, swirling it like she was at some vineyard instead of my cramped apartment. I need someone who matches my ambition, you know? Someone who's actually building something. Not someone who's peaked at checking expiration dates for a living. The ice bag split in my hands. Cubes scattered across the floor, skittering in every direction. That's when everything got real clear. The talent specialist leaned in, said something quiet, probably something about keeping her voice down. Kara shook her head like she couldn't be bothered with discretion. He's comfortable. That's his entire personality. Comfortable job, comfortable routine, comfortable dreams. I'm trying to build an empire here, and he's just furniture, background noise, someone to keep around until something better comes along. That's when she saw me. Our eyes locked across the apartment. 2 seconds, maybe 3. Time doing that weird thing where it stretches and contracts at the same time. And here's what really burned. She didn't look embarrassed. She didn't look sorry. She looked annoyed. Like I was inconveniencing her by existing within earshot of her performance. Kara straightened up, and I saw it. This flash of something in her eyes. Challenge. Or maybe just someone figuring out her next move. Maybe drunk. You'll never be good enough for me. You're just a situationship, she said. Loud enough that conversations around us stopped. Loud enough that the music suddenly seemed too quiet. Loud enough that I felt every person in that apartment turn to look at me, waiting to see how I'd respond. So I responded. I walked to the speaker and killed the music. Dead silence. 30-something people staring at me like I'd lost my mind. Maybe I had. But this was my apartment, my space, and I was done being furniture in my own home. Party's over, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Get out! The room froze. Someone near the kitchen set down their glass like it was suddenly made of poison. A woman I didn't recognize grabbed her purse and started inching toward the door. Kara's face went white. Nate, what are you? I said, get out. All of you. I looked at Victor, at the talent specialist, at John standing by the bar with that expensive bottle he'd brought, at every single person holding a glass I'd paid for in an apartment I paid for. This isn't a request. Victor set his glass down first and headed for the door without a word. The talent specialist followed, not making eye contact. The third person I didn't know was already grabbing their jacket. One by one, Kara's entire network filed out of my apartment like kids leaving detention, mumbling apologies, not looking at me, just trying to escape the blast radius. John hesitated, looked at Kara like he was waiting for instruction. You too, I said. Take your bottle with you. He grabbed it and left without a word. Smart man. First smart thing he'd done all night. Within 3 minutes, the apartment was empty except for Kara. She stood frozen by the balcony, still holding her glass like a prop she'd forgotten to put down. You're embarrassing yourself, she said. But her voice was shaking. No, you did that. I held the door open. We're done. 4 years, Kara. 4 years I gave you. And I'm furniture? A situationship? I stepped closer. You want someone who's building something? Go find him. But you're not doing it from my living room. She grabbed her purse with shaking hands, stopped at the door, turned back like she was going to say something that would fix this. Make me fold. Make me apologize. Give her some piece of dignity to carry out the door. I closed the door in her face. Stood there for a solid 5 minutes, just breathing. The apartment was silent. Solo cups everywhere. The smell of her perfume still hanging in the air like a ghost. My hands were steady. Finally doing something I should have done months ago. I thought dumping her would be the end of it. I was wrong. The harassment started 3 days later. Dating app verification codes I never signed up for. Texts from random dudes. Hey, beautiful, asking what I was wearing. Took me a week to figure out she'd been giving my number to men at bars. The text that locked it in. Are you still at the bar? You said you were wearing the dark green dress? The dark green dress. The one she wore the night we met. She was using our history as a weapon. Then some guy called saying, you told me you were single. Before I could even respond, he sent me a screenshot. Her, texting from a different number. Text me instead, my phone's dying, and then giving him my digits. She wasn't just handing out my number. She was running a relay to humiliate me, creating a whole system just to make my life miserable. I blocked numbers as fast as they came in. Changed my voicemail to, if you think this is Kara, you got played. Lose my number. Didn't stop them. New area codes every few days. Then came the narcissist quiz. She sent me a link about 2 weeks after the party. Some online personality assessment said she wanted closure and to understand what went wrong. Out of curiosity, I took it. Answered honestly. The next day, she forwarded my results to her group chat and started posting about them online. Your test literally said you lack empathy. She wasn't looking for closure. She was building a narrative, making me the villain so nobody would ask questions about her. Preemptive victim mode. If she could diagnose me publicly, then whatever I said about her would sound like the ravings of a narcissist trying to gaslight his way out of accountability. I saved those screenshots too. Around that same time, Bex texted me, Kara's college friend, one of the few people in her circle who'd ever treated me like a human being. Hey, I know you probably don't want to talk to anyone right now, but I think you should know something. I texted back, just tell me. The night of the party, after you kicked everyone out, she called John from the parking lot. She said, finally, now I don't have to keep pretending. John's going to be so relieved. John. I'd been suspicious for months, and I'd been right. Kara kept texting me directly too, from new numbers when I'd block her. Apologies. I still love you. The whole routine. I ignored all of it. But I grabbed my laptop and logged into a shared cloud account we'd set up early in the relationship for photos and trip planning. She'd never been good at digital security. Never changed passwords. The password was exactly what it had always been. Time to find out what else she hadn't bothered to hide. The shared folder had a section called Work Events. I'd never clicked on it before. Had no reason to. My hand hovered over the trackpad for a good 10 seconds. This was a line. Once I crossed it, there was no going back. I clicked. 68 items loaded. First photo, Miami. Kara and John at some rooftop bar. City lights behind them. His arm around her waist like he owned her. She was laughing, head tilted back, his face inches from hers. Timestamp, January. Almost 11 months ago. I scrolled. Austin. The two of them at some conference party that didn't look like any conference I'd ever seen. His hand on her lower back. her leaning into him like they'd done this 1,000 times. San Diego, candid shot at dinner, glasses raised, looking at each other the way people look when they're about to devour each other whole. Denver, her in a hotel robe, taking a mirror selfie with her phone. John visible in the reflection behind her, shirtless, grinning like the cat that got the cream. The timestamp said 11:47 p.m. I kept going. Each photo felt like swallowing broken glass, but I couldn't stop. Dozens of them. Her and John at industry conferences she'd told me were boring and full of meetings. At fancy restaurants she'd expensed as candidate dinners. In hotel rooms that definitely weren't separate bookings. The most recent ones were from 2 weeks ago. Portland. A whole weekend, she'd told me, was a mandatory recruiting summit. Something about team building and leadership training. Photos of them in matching company hoodies, hiking some trail in the woods, clearly sharing the same hotel room. Expensive bottle on the nightstand next to her phone charger. His jacket on the chair next to her dress. I needed metadata. Right-clicked, got info. The photos were geotagged. Pulled up the Portland hotel. The nines. $320 a night for a standard room. The one in the photo looked like a suite, probably closer to $500. I downloaded every single photo. Made a new folder on my desktop called Evidence. Then I went through her documents. Found expense reports going back almost a year. Line items that made my jaw clench so hard my teeth hurt. Client dinner, $285. Candidate travel, $940. Conference materials, $725. Team building event, $1,200. Some had receipts attached. I matched them with the photos. The Miami trip where they went to that rooftop bar? According to the expense report, she'd been there for a healthcare talent summit. The receipt showed dinner for two at a steakhouse, $285, charged to the company card, with a note about prospective candidate discussion. This wasn't just an affair. This was fraud. She'd been stealing from her company to fund romantic getaways with her boss. And John had been approving every single expense report she submitted. Almost a year of this. Hotel rooms, dinners, flights, rental cars, all of it charged to Nexion while they played house. John wasn't just cheating. He was a risk junkie who thought rules were for other people. I did the math. Based on the expense reports I could find, they'd billed the company for somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 in personal travel, maybe more. My phone buzzed. Kara again, from yet another new number. Please talk to me. I need to know you're safe. Safe? That was rich. She'd been stealing from her company, sleeping with her boss, giving my number to random men, and now she was worried about my safety. The nerve on this woman. Unreal. I almost responded. Almost sent her one of the photos just to watch her scramble. But I wasn't going to tip my hand. Not yet. I had homework to do. I opened a new browser tab and searched employment attorney near me. Not for a lawsuit. I wasn't looking to get paid. I wanted to know my options. Figure out how this game worked. How much leverage I actually had, and how to use it without getting burned. It was almost 4 a.m. I wasn't sleeping anyway. I put on my shoes and went for a run through the empty streets. 3 miles, then 4, then 5, until my legs burned and my lungs hurt and I couldn't think about anything except not dying, until her voice finally stopped playing in my head. By the time I got back, drenched in sweat and finally exhausted, I had a plan forming. She wanted someone ambitious? Someone who was building something? Fine. I was about to build her worst nightmare. I spent Sunday building my case like I was preparing for war. Monday morning, I called an employment attorney. She picked up on the second ring. My name's Nate. I just ended a 4-year relationship. My ex has been harassing me, giving my number to strange men, running a smear campaign, and I've discovered she's been committing expense fraud at her company with her boss. I have documentation. Pause. A long one. That's a lot to unpack. Can you come in today at 2? I could. I did. My attorney was in her 50s, sharp as a razor, with the kind of no-nonsense energy that said she'd dealt with this type of mess 100 times. She didn't waste time with small talk, just handed me a bottle of water and told me to start from the beginning. I showed her everything. The fraud evidence, she said when I was done. That's not my wheelhouse, but I can tell you this. If what you're describing is accurate, their company would be very interested. Expense fraud is a fireable offense. Depending on the amounts, it could be criminal. And a supervisor approving fraudulent expenses for someone he's sleeping with? That's a whole other level of liability. Could I get in trouble for accessing the cloud account? Was it a shared account? Joint access? Yes. Same password for 4 years. She never changed it. Then no. You had authorized access to a shared account. That's not hacking. She tapped her pen on the desk. What's your end game here? Revenge? Or just making sure she stops? I thought about it. I want her to face consequences for what she did. Not just to me, to the company she's been stealing from. And I want the harassment to stop. Then document everything, stay calm, and don't engage publicly. If you want to report the fraud to her employer, do it anonymously. Keep your fingerprints off it. Let them do the investigating. For the harassment, I can send a cease and desist. I left her office with a game plan and an $800 retainer, worth every penny. When I got home, she was sitting on my front steps. Kara, eyes red, makeup smudged, looking like someone who'd been crying for days. She still had a key from when we were together. I'd never asked for it back. Oversight. She hadn't let herself in, though. Just sat there on the concrete like a stray cat waiting to be let back inside. She stood up when I walked over. We need to talk. No, we don't. Nate, please. I wasn't thinking straight. I didn't mean any of it. The things I said at the party. Which part? The part where you called me furniture in front of 30 people? Or the part about John being relieved you don't have to pretend anymore? Her face changed. The mask slipped just enough for me to see something real underneath. Calculation. The gears turning. Figuring out her next angle. Who told you that? Doesn't matter. It matters to me. Someone at my company is spreading lies about your company. I pulled out my phone. Opened the photo folder. Let's talk about your company. I turned the screen toward her. Miami. Her and John at some rooftop bar. His arm around her waist like he owned her. Her laughing, head tilted back, his face inches from hers. Her face went white. Actually white, like the blood just drained out of it. Where did you get that? Our cloud account. The one you uploaded 68 photos to over the past year? You never changed the password, Kara. Idiot biatch. She stared at me, then at the phone, back at me. I could see her brain working, trying to figure out how much I knew, what she could deny, what story she could spin to make this go away. Those were work trips. You're being paranoid. I swiped to the next photo. Denver. Her in a hotel robe, mirror selfie. John visible in the reflection behind her, shirtless, grinning. Work trip, huh? What were you working on exactly? She grabbed for my phone. I pulled it back. Try me. I looked up your company's employee handbook online. They have it posted on their careers page. No fraternization between supervisors and direct reports. And I'm real curious how they'd feel about John approving inflated expenses for your little romantic getaways. She looked at me like I'd grown a second head, like she genuinely couldn't process that I was capable of fighting back. You're bluffing. I pulled up the Miami expense report. Client dinner, $285, but the receipt shows dinner for two at a steakhouse. No client name, no meeting notes. That's fraud, Kara. Companies prosecute for that. She stared at me for a long moment. Then something shifted. The victim act turned into something uglier. Fine. You want to play hardball? I'll tell everyone you were controlling. That you isolated me from my friends. That I was scared to leave. Remember that quiz you took? The one that flagged you for narcissistic tendencies? I have the results. No one will believe you. My jaw set. Eyes locked on hers. I stopped blinking. The quiz you sent me after I dumped you. I pulled up the screenshots. Yeah, I have those too. Along with the messages where you bragged about diagnosing me, and the phone number relay you've been running. She went pale again. That one hit different. That was her thinking she was clever, and realizing I'd mapped the whole operation. She tried everything after that. Tears, deals, threats, playing victim. None of it landed. Finally, she doubled down. You're just furniture, Nate. You always were. I looked at her for a long moment. Give me the key. She stared at me. The key to my apartment. Give it back. Now. She dug it out of her purse with shaking hands and dropped it in my palm. We're done here. Don't come back. She left. I logged into the Netflix account. My account. The one I'd been paying for since before we met. Renamed her profile to guest. Renamed mine to owner. Changed the language on guest to Mandarin. Set a pin on owner. Then I sat back and waited. Took about 4 minutes. What did you do to Netflix? This is so petty I can't even watch anything. Nate, I swear, I replied once. Guest accounts don't get opinions. Then I blocked her number. Changed my locks the next morning. 2 days after she left my doorstep, Beck sent me a screenshot. Kara had posted on her private Instagram, the one she thought I didn't know about, a long emotional caption about escaping a toxic relationship and finding the courage to leave, about how I'd been controlling and manipulative, how she'd been walking on eggshells for years, how she was finally free, how she'd seen the red flags but wanted to believe he could change. The comments were full of support, hearts and fire emojis. So proud of you, Queen. You deserve so much better. Your ex sounds like a nightmare. DM me if you need to talk. Women I'd met once, twice, never. All rallying around her version of events. A few people I barely knew sent me messages directly. I always knew something was off about you. Hope you're getting help. Kara told us what you did. You should be ashamed. She was rewriting history in real time, and people were eating it up. That was her gift, narrative control. She sold stories about people for a living, and now she was selling one about me. I wanted to respond to every single one, wanted to post the photos, the expense reports, the evidence, wanted to burn her to the ground publicly and let everyone see who she really was. But my attorney had said to wait. Document but don't engage. Let her dig her own grave. So I did the smart thing. I put my phone in a drawer and went for a 5-mile run, then another the next day, and the next. A week passed, then 2. Life got quieter, started sleeping better for the first time in a long time. Hit the gym hard, focused on work, let her spiral without me. My attorney sent a cease and desist about the abuse posts. Preserve all communications. Future false statements will be used in court. Not a lawsuit, just a letter. But it threatened her only real power, the narrative. The post started disappearing within hours. Her social media went quiet for about a week. I figured she was regrouping, planning her next move. Then she made a mistake, a big one. She posted publicly this time, all her social media, a long, emotional statement about narcissistic abuse and healing from trauma. She didn't name me directly, but she might as well have. Everyone who knew us could connect the dots. And then John, the genius VP of talent acquisition, the man responsible for hiring people who could supposedly make good decisions, commented on her public post. So proud of how far you've come. You deserve someone who supports your dreams and matches your energy. I screenshotted it immediately. The absolute idiot had just publicly confirmed their relationship while pretending it started after she left me. The timestamps on those photos told a very different story. That night, I created a new email account. Burner address, no identifying information, VPN running just to be safe. Wrote a simple, factual message to Nexian's HR department and their ethics hotline. To whom it may concern, reporting potential policy violations involving Kara, talent acquisition specialist, and John, VP of talent acquisition. Evidence indicates an approximately 11-month romantic relationship within a direct reporting line, likely violating Nexian's non-fraternization policy. There also appears to be systematic expense fraud. Multiple trips expensed as business travel appear to be personal travel, supported by attached photos, timestamps/geolocation, and related expense reports/receipts showing inconsistencies. Submitting anonymously due to fear of retaliation. Attachments, 12 metadata intact photos, 6 expense reports with mismatched receipts, timestamped screenshot of John's public comment on Kara's post. I read it over 3 times, checked the attachments, made sure there was nothing that could trace back to me. Then I hit send. The investigation moved faster than I expected. Bex kept me updated. HR pulled Kara and John into separate interviews on day 2, brought in an outside firm to audit the financials. The photos were damning enough, but once they started pulling receipts, everything unraveled. 2 days after the interviews started, she showed up at my plant. Not my apartment, not the parking lot. The actual facility, at shift change, when the whole place turns into a moving wall of steel-toe boots and fluorescent light. Hundreds of guys filing in and out, trucks backing up to loading docks, forklifts beeping warnings. The worst possible place to have a private conversation, which meant she wasn't looking for private. Security stopped her at the gate. She still got close enough that everyone walking in could see her. Hoodie, hair pulled back, eyes puffy, holding her phone like it was a weapon and a lifeline at the same time. She looked smaller than I remembered. Desperate. She didn't yell my name. That would have been too honest. She just stood there and waited until she spotted me, like we were at some sad reunion and she was entitled to closure. Like I owed her a final conversation. I didn't speed up. I didn't slow down. I walked like I had a schedule. Because I did. Nate, she said, voice shaking. Please. I stopped right at the fence line, close enough to hear her over all the noise, far enough that she couldn't touch me. She hated that. You could see it in her eyes, the frustration of not being able to close the distance. I'll pay you, she said fast. Whatever you want. I'll post that I lied. I'll delete everything. I'll tell everyone the truth. Just, please stop. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I miss you. Just, stop. Her phone lit up while she was begging. Screen facing me for half a second. John calling. She swiped it away like it burned her. It buzzed again. Another call. Then a text notification. Then another. Her phone was lighting up like a Christmas tree. John, probably HR, maybe both. The whole house of cards was coming down in real time, and she was standing at my gate trying to stop it with her bare hands. She looked back at me like I didn't just see the whole point. His wife doesn't know, she said. Quieter now. His kids! Nate, please, don't do this to them. I watched her phone buzz twice more while she waited for my answer. I leaned in just enough that she could hear me over the noise. "You already did," I said. "That's why this is happening." Then I turned and walked through the gate. Security closed it behind me. The investigation wrapped up 3 weeks after it started. The photos were damning, but the paper trail was worse. 11 months of inflated expenses, claiming higher hotel rates than they paid, expensing personal Ubers as business travel, doctored receipts with amounts changed and dates shifted. The audit found a pattern, not a mistake. $12,000, maybe more. While HR was building their case, Kara was still out there spinning her narrative. Another post about healing, another vague reference to her difficult past, more comments from people who had no idea what was actually happening. And then she really overplayed her hand. She filed a complaint against Nexion with the State Labor Board, claimed she was being targeted and retaliated against for speaking out about workplace harassment, said John had pressured her into the relationship, that she'd felt coerced because of the power imbalance, that she'd been too scared to say no. She was trying to flip the entire script, make herself the victim of the guy she'd been willingly sleeping with for almost a year, turn a consensual affair into a harassment case so she could sue the company instead of getting fired by it. But HR had the messages. Hundreds of texts between Kara and John pulled from company servers during the investigation. And they showed exactly what I'd suspected. She'd pursued him. Aggressively. Messages about how she couldn't stop thinking about him. About wanting to take things further. About being so happy after their first trip together. About how she'd never felt this way before. She'd initiated the whole thing. Planned the trips. Suggested the hotels. Even picked the restaurants. And now she was trying to throw him under the bus to save herself. John got walked out the day the investigation concluded. His wife found out through the investigation and filed within 2 weeks. Temporary orders came quick. Loss of the house, limited custody. Everything after that was a slow grind. Turns out mentoring your subordinate in hotel rooms across the country isn't a great look in family court. Kara's labor board complaint got dismissed 3 weeks later. No evidence of coercion. Plenty of evidence that she'd been a willing, enthusiastic participant. The investigator basically said she tried to hide behind harassment laws to cover her own mess. She posted one more time, claiming she'd been set up by a vindictive ex who manufactured evidence. That the photos were taken out of context. The post got less traction than her earlier ones. People were starting to ask questions. Her story had changed too many times. "Wait, didn't you say you left him?" Someone asked. "How did your ex get photos from your work trips?" She deleted the post within an hour. 4 months passed. I heard through the grapevine that Kara had moved to a cheaper apartment on the other side of town. Small place. Nothing like the trendy neighborhood she'd been so desperate to live in. Word was she'd taken a job answering phones at some insurance agency. Not exactly the empire she'd envisioned. Not exactly the rooms that matter. John was dealing with his own implosion. Divorce finalized after months of court dates. His wife took the house, primary custody of the kids. He ended up in a one-bedroom apartment across town, paying child support and alimony while his career went up in flames. Last I heard, he was trying to rebuild in a different state, different industry entirely. Hard to get hired as a VP when terminated for ethics violations shows up in your background check. The risk junkie finally found a bet he couldn't win. As for me, I was doing better than I had in years. The apartment felt different now, lighter. Same 2-bedroom in the arts district, same balcony with the park view, but no one else's drama filling the space. No one making me feel like I wasn't enough. Just my stuff, my space, my peace. Got a promotion at work 3 months in. Better title, solid raise. My supervisor said I'd been showing real initiative lately, taking on projects, mentoring newer guys on the floor, stepping up when things got complicated. Funny how easy it is to focus when you're not constantly managing someone else's chaos. Hit the gym 5 days a week, lost 20 pounds. Actually slept through the night for the first time in years. Stopped waking up at 3 a.m. with my heart racing, wondering what I'd done wrong this time. Replaying conversations in my head, trying to figure out where I'd failed. Started dating again. Nothing serious. Met a woman named Riley through a mutual friend. She worked in graphic design, had a dry sense of humor that matched mine, and didn't make me feel like I needed to apologize for existing. We'd been on maybe 6 dates, taking it slow because I'd learned that lesson the hard way. Life was good, quiet, mine. Then, one Thursday evening, I was grabbing groceries at the store near my place, just picking up stuff for the week like a normal human being. Pushing my cart through the cereal aisle, debating between 2 kinds of granola like the biggest decision I had to make was fiber content. Normal problems, simple choices. And there she was, Kara, standing in front of the protein bars, staring at her phone like it owed her money, or maybe just scrolling through the wreckage of her reputation. She looked different, smaller somehow, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, no makeup, wearing a hoodie and jeans I didn't recognize. Nothing like the polished corporate girl who'd told 30 people I wasn't good enough for her. Nothing like the woman who'd been building empires and dreaming of rooms that matter. She was now just someone buying groceries in the middle of a Thursday, trying to figure out how her life had gone so wrong. She looked up. Our eyes met. For a second, neither of us moved. Fluorescent lights humming overhead. Some kids screaming about fruit snacks 3 aisles over. Normal grocery store noise that suddenly didn't matter. Like we were just two strangers who happened to need protein bars on the same Thursday afternoon. I should have walked away. Should have just kept pushing my cart toward checkout and pretended I hadn't seen her. 4 months of peace. 4 months of moving on. 4 months of building something that was actually mine, that nobody could take from me. But she walked toward me. Of course she did. Nate. I stopped. Didn't say anything. Just waited. Gave her nothing. She crossed her arms. That familiar defensive posture I'd seen 1,000 times when she was about to say something she knew I wouldn't like. Same old Kara. Different circumstances. I heard you got promoted. News travels. I also heard you're seeing someone. I didn't respond. Wasn't any of her business anymore. She laughed. This brittle little sound that had no joy in it. You know what's funny? I spent 4 years thinking you were the problem. That you were holding me back. That I needed someone more ambitious, more connected, more everything. She shook her head. Turns out the only thing holding me back was me. That's a nice realization. Bit late, though. Her eyes flashed. That old anger I remembered. You reported me, didn't you? The anonymous tip. I kept my face neutral. You ruined my career. You submitted the receipts. Say it. Say you reported me. No. She waited like I owed her something. I pushed my cart around her like she was a display. Nate. I stopped but didn't turn around. I really did love you. In my own way. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. I walked away. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. Could feel her standing there in the cereal aisle, watching me go. Finally getting it. Some bridges don't just burn. They get blown up on purpose. The checkout line was short. I paid for my groceries, loaded them in my car, and drove home to my quiet apartment with the park view. The same apartment I'd lived in for years. The one that finally felt like mine again. Riley texted while I was putting things away. Wanted to know if I was free Saturday. She'd found some new Thai place she wanted to try. Said she'd read the reviews, and it looked amazing. I smiled and typed back, absolutely. Pick you up at 7? The phone buzzed. Perfect. Can't wait. I built a life without her, and it's the best thing I ever made. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true. This story is titled, Nobody Breaks Up With Me. I dumped my girlfriend after she stopped acting like my girlfriend, so she lost it and paid her best friend to frame me as the cheater. What I found out later is why I went nuclear. So this dude's girlfriend paid her best friend $100, cash, in a Starbucks parking lot, to seduce him at a wing spot. And honestly, that's not even the wildest part. This story goes places I genuinely didn't think a singing lesson could take us. He starts off by saying, Hey Reddit, I'm 27 male, and I work in project management at a mid-sized construction firm. I'm the kind of dude who just handles things. No announcements, no speeches. I just get stuff done and move on. I'd been dating this girl, I'm gonna call her Jenna, for about 1.5 years. Met her through a mutual friend at a 4th of July cookout. She was cute, seemed chill, laughed at my jokes. We moved in together around the 10-month mark. Nothing crazy. Regular 2-bedroom apartment, decent part of town. Split everything. Had a shared Google Calendar for bills. It was one of those relationships where you don't have to try hard, you know? You just hang out with someone and it works. About 4 months before everything goes sideways, Jenna decides she wants to take singing lessons. Cool, fine, I don't care. I'm not the type of dude who tells his girl she can't have hobbies. She signs up at some local music studio. 2 sessions a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. I drove her to the first one because her car was in the shop getting new brakes. Didn't think anything of it. First couple weeks were totally normal. She'd come home humming, practicing scales in the shower, watching YouTube tutorials about vocal warm-ups. Honestly, it was kind of cute. I told her she sounded good a few times. Meant it. She had a decent voice. Nothing record deal worthy, but she could hold a tune. Then the sticky notes started. Bathroom mirror, fridge, laptop, car dashboard, inside of the front door. Our apartment looked like it got attacked by a motivational speaker with an Office Depot addiction. You are a queen. Act like it. Boss babe energy only. The universe has big plans for you, queen. She joined a Facebook group called Women Who Rise and started posting about outgrowing people who no longer serve your journey. She'd known me 18 months, and suddenly I was a phase she was graduating from. Like a freshman who takes one philosophy class and starts telling their parents they don't understand existence. At the same time, the singing lessons started running late. First 30 minutes, then an hour, then one Thursday. She didn't come home until almost midnight, and she got secretive. Phone angled away from me in bed like she was guarding state secrets. Stopped being affectionate. No more random kisses when she walked by. She'd sit in the chair across the room instead of next to me on the couch. If I asked, "You coming to bed?" it was always later. Later never came. Later was a myth. Later was Santa Claus for adults in dying relationships. Look, I'm not stupid. I'm not the type of dude who checks his girl's phone, tracks her location, goes through her DMs like some insecure stalker. That's not my style. But I notice stuff. I pay attention. And what I was noticing was a pattern that screamed something is really, really wrong here. I asked about the late lessons once. She said, "It's a class, babe. There are other people in it." That tone. That "don't question me, I'm evolving and you're not" tone. I nodded and went back to the TV. But in my head, none of this was adding up. Not even close. Here's the thing about me. I don't spiral. I don't start arguments at 2 in the morning. I don't beg for explanations. I just decide. Quietly. On my own. So I made my decision. Saturday morning, I woke up before her, made coffee, sat down at the kitchen table. Apartment was quiet except for the fridge humming, and I think the upstairs neighbors had their TV on, but whatever. Sunlight coming through the kitchen window, hitting 3 different sticky notes on the wall behind Jenna's empty chair. "You deserve everything." I read all 3 while I waited. Sipped my coffee. Waited some more. Jenna came out around 9, still half asleep, robe untied, green face mask cracking on her face. She didn't look at me, went straight for the coffee, walked right past me like I wasn't even there. I let her get the mug, let her pour the coffee, let her take the first sip, then I just said it. "Hey, sit down for a sec. I think we should break up." Dead silence. Jenna froze. Coffee mug halfway to her mouth. Green face mask cracking. She was staring at me like I'd just told her the earth was shaped like a triangle. She sat down across from me, sticky notes glowing right behind her head, and started with the whole, "What? Why? Where is this coming from? Things have been so good." I didn't flinch. Sipped my coffee. Things haven't been good for a while, and I'd rather leave now than wait for it to blow up in my face. She kept crying, shaking shoulders, doing the whole can't catch her breath thing. And then, she said it. "Is this because of what I did?" I stopped. Everything in my brain just stopped. I set the mug down real slow. 5 words she didn't mean to say out loud. 5 words that took every suspicion, every gut feeling, every alarm that had been going off for months, and confirmed all of it at once. I felt it in my chest first. Then my jaw tightened. Then my hands went still on the table. My instincts were right the whole time. Not once did they steer me wrong. "What did you do?" You could see it on her face. She just outed herself. Nobody accused her of anything, and she still confessed. Speed ran her own downfall and didn't even realize it until the words were already out. She backpedaled. "What? No, nothing. I didn't do anything. I just thought, why are you breaking up with me then?" I just looked at her, calm, steady. That look a dad gives a kid standing next to a broken vase saying, "I didn't do it." "Jenna, what did you do?" She tried to flip it. "Are you seeing someone? Is there another girl? Who have you been talking to?" Full deflection mode. Answering a question with like 14 questions. I didn't take the bait. Didn't get defensive. Didn't list evidence. Just leaned back and kept it simple. "I don't do drama, Jenna. If you're not giving me what I expect from a partner and I'm not getting what I need, why are we together? That's it. That's the whole thing. I don't need a reason beyond that." Cold? Maybe. But it's the truth. In a world full of dudes who stick around hoping things magically fix themselves, I chose myself. That's not cold. That's smart. Jenna went from crying to furious in about 4 seconds. Stood up. Slammed her hands on the table hard enough to rattle both coffee mugs. And then she hit me with the most unhinged line I've ever heard in my life. "Nobody breaks up with me. Nobody. We'll talk about this later when you've calmed down. When I've calmed down." Brother. I was sitting there drinking coffee like it was a regular Saturday morning. I was literally the most relaxed person in the room. "But sure, Jenna. I need to calm down." She stormed off to the bedroom, slammed the door so hard a sticky note fell off the hallway wall, and I could hear her on the phone within seconds, crying to someone, probably her mom, probably already spinning the whole story into, "He just attacked me out of nowhere. I don't know what happened. I've been such a good girlfriend." The victim version was already being written. I finished my coffee, rinsed the mug, set it in the drying rack, and started packing my stuff. Not in a rush, Not panicking, just steady. Box by box, drawer by drawer. I'd already been mentally checked out for like 2 weeks at that point. This was just making it official. I folded my clothes, stacked my books, unplugged my PlayStation, took my good chef's knife, the one I'd bought myself, and left the cheap one she'd picked up from Target. Pause. All right, guys. I gotta stop here because what this man just did, this is the part most dudes get completely wrong. He didn't wait for proof. He didn't wait for a confession. He didn't camp out in a parking lot trying to catch her in the act like some sad detective in a bad movie. He paid attention to how the relationship felt, and when it felt wrong for long enough, he bounced. That's it. And look, I know some of y'all are sitting there like, but what if he was wrong? What if she wasn't cheating? Doesn't matter. Read that back. She wasn't showing up as a partner anymore. The affection was gone. The respect was gone. She was treating him like furniture. You don't need a screenshot of her in another dude's bed to know you deserve better than that. You're allowed to leave just because you want to. Back to the story. I moved my stuff to my boy Derek's guest room. No scene, no social media posts, no trash-talking Jenna, just quietly moved out and started looking for my own place. Clean break. Or at least that's what I thought. About 5 or 6 days later, I'm at a wing spot with my crew. Derek, Travis, and Mike. Thursday night. Game on. Wings. First time in months I actually felt like myself. Then this girl walks in. Alone. Scans the room slow. Not the way someone looks for a table. More like someone looking for a specific face. Her eyes land on our section. She adjusts her hair and walks over. Kayla. Jenna's friend. We'd met a handful of times at group hangouts. She stops at our table looking surprised. Eyebrows up, hand on her chest. Oh wow. Small world. Casual. Almost too casual. Like she rehearsed it in the car. Derek scooted over. She sat down, ordered a water, made small talk. Then the questions shifted. How are you holding up? After everything? I said I was fine. She glanced at her phone under the table. Quick, like checking a text she'd been waiting on. Are you seeing anyone yet? Way too personal. Way too soon. I gave a short answer and watched her check the phone again right after, like she was relaying my answers in real time. Something cold crawled up the back of my neck. Then she leaned in. Can I talk to you for a sec? Somewhere quieter? Travis gave the smallest head shake. I stood up anyway. Walked her toward the hallway near the restroom. She started saying something about wanting to check on me. I let her talk for like 30 seconds, then cut through it. Calm. Eye contact. Who put you up to this? Her face changed. Mouth opened. Closed. What? Nobody. I just ran into you. Kayla. She pulled her phone against her chest like a shield. I'm just trying to be a good friend. Whatever this is, I'm not doing it. Go home. She stood there 1 second, then walked out fast. Not running, but close. Didn't say goodbye. The door swung shut and the wing spot went back to being a wing spot. I sat back down. Picked up a wing. Mike leaned over real low. That felt planned. I chewed. Swallowed. Yep. Nobody asked questions. We went back to the game. I was so incredibly wrong to think it ended there. 2 hours later. Derek's place. Brushing my teeth. Getting ready for bed. Phone rings. Jenna. My thumb hovered over decline for a few seconds, but curiosity won. Same thing that makes you slow down past a car wreck. Before I could even say hello, Jenna was screaming. Full volume. The kind of screaming that makes you hold the phone away from your ear and check if your eardrum is still intact. The neighbors probably thought someone was getting attacked. No, someone was being accused of something I absolutely did not do. How could you do this to me? You took her back to your place? Kayla told me everything. She said you were all over her at the wing spot. You had your hands on her waist. You bought her food all night. You walked her to her car. That's why you wanted the breakup. You're disgusting. I knew it. I always knew it. I stood there in Derek's bathroom, toothbrush hanging from my mouth, toothpaste dripping down my chin, staring at myself in the mirror, just trying to process what was happening. Like, my brain was trying to understand how a woman who personally set up a honey trap, planned it, funded it, sent it out the door, was now accusing me of falling into it. She planned the trap. It failed. And now she's mad I supposedly took the bait? On what planet does that make sense? I tried to get a word in. Jenna, I didn't... What are you... I literally rejected her. Jenna. But she wasn't listening. Full meltdown mode. She'd taken Kayla's failed mission, a mission she put together, and somehow flipped it into proof that I was cheating. Her own failed setup became her evidence. That's not just denial. That's a whole new level of delusional. She hung up. I texted once. I didn't touch Kayla. She showed up. I told her to leave. She left. Ask anyone who was there. 3 witnesses. Sent it. Put the phone down. Went to bed. Facts, not feelings. I was woken at 1:30 in the morning by something hitting the front of Derek's house. Small, like a pebble against siding. Then another. Then another. I looked out the window. Jenna, front yard, pajamas, throwing rocks at the house. She started with pebbles from the flower bed. Those just bounced off the siding. Then she moved up to rocks from the landscaping border. Those actually made noise. She was screaming the whole time. Come out here, face me like a man. You're a coward. You're a cheater. You ruined everything. I told her through the window to stop, to go home, that she was going to get herself in trouble. She responded by picking up a bigger rock. This woman was leveling up her ammo in real time like she was in a video game. She hit the door. She hit the windows. I called the non-emergency line. Then she kicked Derek's front porch light clean off its mount. Shattered. Glass everywhere across the steps. That's when I called 911. She was kicking the front door now, screaming that she was going to destroy everything I love. Full berserker mode. And then, right before the sirens hit the end of the street, she wound up with the biggest rock yet and launched it directly at the front steps. Direct hit. Derek's garden gnome. Ceramic shrapnel across the concrete. Head went one way. Body went another. Little fishing rod landed in the bushes. That gnome had been on those steps through 3 Halloweens, 2 blizzards, and a neighborhood dog that humped everything below knee height. Gone. Destroyed by a woman in pajama pants throwing rocks at a house that wasn't even hers. That's when Derek came out of his room in his boxers. He stared at the remains of his gnome on the front steps, then at me. Dead serious. Bro, she killed my gnome. 2 patrol cars showed up within about 8 minutes. By the time they got there, Jenna had run out of rocks and was sitting on the curb crying. Mascara everywhere, looking like a raccoon that lost a fight with a sprinkler. Officers talked to everyone. Derek gave a very passionate eulogy for the garden gnome and insisted on filing a separate property damage report for the gnome, the porch light, and what he called preemptive emotional distress to the gnome's future descendants. Jenna tried the Damsel in Distress Act with the officers, but it's real hard to play victim when you're standing in someone else's front yard at 1:30 in the morning, surrounded by the rocks you just threw at their house. She was escorted home. No arrest, but I was advised to pursue a protective order. I filed a report, got everything documented. Pause. This part matters. He did not go outside. Think about how easy it would have been. She's in the yard at 1:30 a.m. screaming, throwing rocks, calling him a coward. Every part of you wants to match that energy. And that's exactly what she wanted. Because the second he steps outside and raises his voice, she calls the cops and says, he threatened me. Now he's the one with a report filed against him. That's the play. Every single time. He didn't fall for it. Stayed inside, called the police himself, and let them show up to find her throwing rocks at someone else's house. Paper trail, witnesses, reports. When this ends up in front of a judge, the question isn't who was louder. It's who has documentation. He does. She's got a pile of rocks and a dead gnome. Rest in peace, little buddy. Back to it. 3 quiet days. I found a new apartment, signed the lease, started moving in. Sleeping great, eating right, hitting the gym. That post-breakup clarity was hitting different. Felt lighter, like I'd been carrying dead weight for months, and didn't even realize how heavy it was until I finally put it down. Then Kayla called. Almost sent it to voicemail. But curiosity won again. Her voice was shaky. Not scared shaky. Guilty shaky. There's a difference. She said she needed to talk. Said it was about Jenna. Said, you need to hear this. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Public place, daytime, coffee shop, people everywhere. Kayla was already there when I showed up. Looked rough, eyes red, hands fidgeting. We sat down and she got right into it. Jenna had paid her $100, cash, Starbucks parking lot, like a drug deal, to go to that wing spot and hit on me. The plan was to flirt, get me to engage, maybe snap a photo of us looking cozy, and bring it back to Jenna as proof I was a cheater. That way Jenna could flip the whole story, play the victim, and never answer for her own stuff. $100. That's what my relationship was worth to Jenna. Couldn't even spring for $200. Discount manipulation, dollar store betrayal. Then Kayla dropped the real bomb. Jenna had been cheating on me for months, pretty much since the singing lessons started, maybe even a little before. With her vocal coach, some dude named Brandon. She paused there, took a shaky breath. He's not exactly... She trailed off, rubbed her face, started again. He thinks he's gonna be famous, like, genuinely believes it. Does open mics at coffee shops where nobody's listening? I said nothing, just waited for the full picture. He drives a Volkswagen Jetta, pause, with a bumper sticker, longer pause. That says, music is my love language. I almost spit my coffee across the table. A Jetta. With a bumper sticker. A grown man who unironically puts a bumper sticker about music on a Volkswagen Jetta and thinks that's a personality. This is who she threw away a real relationship for. A dude whose entire identity was an acoustic guitar, a dream, and probably a SoundCloud account with 14 followers, 12 of which were bots. Brandon was the vocal coach who turned lessons into extra practice sessions that conveniently always ended around midnight. The whole queen empowerment sticky note phase? All Brandon. One of those dudes who tells women they're goddesses and the universe chose them for greatness. That fake deep garbage that works on people who confuse flattery with actual connection and compliments with commitment. Kayla said she'd known for a while but didn't say anything because Jenna was her best friend. Classic move. See something, say nothing, then feel guilty about it when everything blows up. But after the wing spot setup and watching Jenna throw rocks at a house while I just handled everything calmly, she couldn't carry it anymore. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have gone to the wing spot. I took the money and I shouldn't have. But you didn't deserve any of it. None of it. I sat with all of that for a minute, processing it in real time. The singing lessons, the late nights, the changed passwords, the sticky notes, the midnight group dinners. Every red flag I'd noticed, every gut feeling, it all connected to one ugly truth. She wasn't finding herself. She was with some other dude the entire time and making me feel crazy for questioning it. And she had the nerve, the absolute nerve, to send her friend to frame me for cheating, to cover her own tracks, to protect her own lie. That's not just cheating. That's a whole operation, a conspiracy with a budget and a timeline. But I didn't lose it, didn't break down, just nodded slowly, said, "Appreciate you telling me," and drank my coffee. The cheating confirmation was just the receipt for a meal I'd already walked out on. It backed up every instinct I'd had, but it didn't change anything. Not one thing. I was already gone, already moving forward. Kayla asked me not to tell Jenna, she told me. I told her I had zero intention of ever speaking to Jenna again about anything, so her secret was safe by default. We went our separate ways. I went home, thought about it for maybe 15 minutes, then went to the gym, cooked dinner, and watched a documentary about deep sea fishing. Moved on, like an adult. 2 days later, Kayla called again. This time she was crying. Hard. Said Jenna found out about the coffee shop meeting. Someone spotted us together and told her. Jenna was losing her mind, demanding a three-way sit-down, threatening to destroy Kayla's reputation, tell everyone she was a backstabber, post stuff about her online. Kayla begged me to just do it so Jenna would leave her alone. I said no, flat out. I'm not doing a sit-down with my ex and the girl she paid to seduce me. That's not a conversation, that's a reality TV audition. Hard pass. Kayla kept pushing. I felt bad for her. Genuinely. But I also knew this was not my circus, and those were definitely not my monkeys. Then Kayla said the thing that changed the math. She's saying she's going to come to your apartment. She's been asking everyone for your new address. That got my attention. New apartment. Fresh start. Jenna didn't have the address. Or at least she shouldn't have. But I mean, I'd watched this woman throw rocks at a house at 1:30 in the morning and murder a garden gnome in cold blood. Tracking down an address was nothing for someone with that level of crazy. So I agreed. Not to a phone call, in person. All three of us. Same coffee shop, broad daylight, and if anything went sideways even a little bit, I was calling the police. Those were my terms. Pause. Bro. You were doing so good. You had the protective order paperwork basically warming up on your desk. You had 3 clean police reports. You were eating steak on Thursdays and watching fishing documentaries. Life was beautiful. And then this man said, "Yeah, sure. Let me go sit down with my cheating ex and the girl she literally hired to set me up." That's like escaping a burning building and then going back inside because someone said the fire wants to talk things out. My guy, the coffee shop is not a courtroom. Nothing good has ever come from a 3-way sit-down at a coffee shop. Nothing. In the history of coffee shops. But fine. He went. Let's see how this plays out. Next afternoon. I walked in, Jenna and Kayla already seated. Not talking. The most uncomfortable silence I've ever walked into. Jenna, furious. Arms crossed, jaw clenched, leg bouncing like a jackhammer. Kayla, terrified. Eyes red. Hands wrapped around a coffee she hadn't touched. Shoulders pulled in like she was trying to disappear into the chair. The barista already had one hand near the phone. Even the dude with the MacBook in the corner lowered his screen to check out the tension. You could feel it in the room. Heavy. I sat down, didn't order anything. Just looked at both of them and waited. This wasn't my show. Kayla spoke first, trembling, voice cracking. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Looked at Jenna, looked away fast. looked down at her hands wrapped around that untouched coffee cup. Then she started talking. She told Jenna, right there, face to face, that nothing happened at the wing spot, that I rejected her within minutes, that she'd been paid to go there. She kept stopping. I'm sorry. I know this is. I know you're going to hate me for. She'd stop, wipe her eyes, push forward. She admitted the whole setup, the $100, the plan, all of it. Then she took a shaky breath, looked at Jenna one more time. Jenna's face was absolute stone, not a flicker, just ice. Kayla looked away and said the part that mattered. But I can't. Jenna, I can't keep. She stopped again, wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, started over. He deserves to know. About Brandon. About everything. Her voice cracked on everything. You've been cheating on him for months and then you sent me to frame him for cheating so you could play the victim. I tried to tell myself it wasn't that bad, but it is. It's insane. And I couldn't be part of it anymore. I felt sick about it. I'm sorry. I know you hate me, but he needed to hear it. The coffee shop went dead quiet. A guy at the next table lowered his newspaper. The barista stopped mid-pour. Jenna didn't yell. Not at first. She sat perfectly still for like 5 seconds, then turned to Kayla and said it real low and cold, somehow scarier than screaming. You have always been a jealous, backstabbing little snake. Always. Every guy I've ever been with, you've tried to get close to. You've been jealous of me since high school. Then she picked up her iced coffee, grande, oat milk, because of course, and threw it directly in Kayla's face. Full cup. Ice, liquid, everything. Kayla shrieked. The newspaper guy actually said, "Oh snap," out loud. The barista picked up the phone. Jenna went for Kayla's hair. 0 to World Star in 2 seconds flat. I moved fast. Got between them. Didn't touch Jenna. Smart. Just physically shielded Kayla and held my arms out as a wall. Jenna was swinging around me trying to reach Kayla, and Kayla was backing up into chairs, knocking over someone's laptop bag. Oat milk coffee dripping from her face onto the floor. I looked at both of them. Jenna with crazy eyes and balled fists. Kayla dripping oat milk and trembling like a wet chihuahua. And me, standing in the middle of a coffee shop, being the only sane person in a 3-person meeting I never wanted to be at in the first place. Both of you, listen. I'm done. I'm done with both of you. Do not call me. Do not text me. Do not show up anywhere near me. Either of you. If I hear from either one of you again, I'm going straight to the police. Not a threat. A promise. We're done here. I turned around and walked out. Didn't look back. Not once. Got in my truck, started the engine, and pulled out of the parking lot like I was leaving a regular Tuesday afternoon errand. The barista was on the phone. The newspaper guy was standing up. Someone had their phone out recording. I barely registered any of it. I was already gone. I made it about 7 blocks before something in my rear view caught my eye. Headlights. Staying with me through a left turn. Could be nothing. I took another left. They followed. I took a right. They followed. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. Not panic. Just awareness. Not one car. 2. Jenna's white Honda Civic with the cracked taillight she never fixed. And behind that, Kayla's silver Toyota Corolla with a sorority sticker on the back windshield. Both of them. Through every turn. These 2 women, who were literally trying to rip each other's hair out 15 minutes ago, were now united in following me home, like a 2-car parade celebrating the death of common sense. Neither one using turn signals. My apartment complex came up on the right. I drove right past it. Didn't slow down. Didn't signal. Didn't even glance at the building. Because the last thing you want is 2 unhinged women knowing exactly where you lay your head at night. That slash tires and cheater keyed into your hood just waiting to happen. I pulled into a well-lit gas station about half a mile past my place. Security cameras on every angle. Parked right under the tallest light pole. Both cars pulled in behind me. Engines running. Headlights on. Staring at me through their windshields like something out of a low-budget horror movie. I locked my doors, kept the engine running, and called 911. Gave the dispatcher both vehicles. Makes, models, colors, plate numbers. I'd memorized Jenna's plates months ago and grabbed Kayla's from the coffee shop lot earlier that day. Because I think ahead, 2 patrol cars, 10 minutes. My name was already in the system from the rock-throwing incident. The pattern was clear, and getting worse. Both women were told to leave right away. This time I didn't wait on the protective order. Monday morning, courthouse, filed against both of them. Jenna for ongoing harassment, stalking, property damage. Kayla because even though her intentions shifted, she'd been part of the original scheme and then followed me home, which crossed a real clear line. Both orders got granted. Temporary at first, then made permanent after neither Jenna nor Kayla showed up to fight them. Probably because whatever lawyer they talked to took one look at the police reports, the witness statements, and my records and said, yeah, you've got 0 chance here. Or maybe they just didn't care enough to show up. Either way, same result. Legal boundaries, backed by law. Stay away or face the consequences. I changed my number, locked down social media, made everything private, blocked Jenna, Kayla, and every mutual who might serve as a pipeline back to me. Told friends and family the situation, so nobody could be used as a backdoor to reach me. My mom was furious. Not at me, at Jenna. She said, I always thought that girl smiled too much. Nobody's that happy all the time unless they're hiding something. Moms always know, man. Derek installed a Ring doorbell and 2 new garden gnomes, positioned on either side of the front steps like bouncers at a nightclub. Travis bought me a housewarming gift. Framed photo of the original gnome with the caption, Gone but not forgotten. Hangs in my living room to this day. Mike sent a text. King behavior. Proud of you, bro. That's what real friends do. They don't ask questions when you show up with boxes. They open the door and say, wings or pizza tonight? That's brotherhood. Now here's the part where I made my move. See, for about 2 weeks after the protective orders went through, Jenna had been running her mouth to literally everyone. Every mutual friend, every coworker, every person she'd ever met at a barbecue, telling them I was the cheater, that I was controlling, that she had to escape me. Full victim tour. She was posting vague stuff on social media. Some people show you who they really are, and healing from narcissistic abuse type posts. I know because 3 different people sent me screenshots without me even asking. She was building a whole story where she was the brave survivor, and I was the monster. Classic. I didn't respond, didn't post anything, didn't correct anyone, just let her talk. For 2 solid weeks, I let her absolutely bury herself in her own version of events. And the whole time I was just waiting. Then I did one thing. Derek pressed charges for the property damage, the porch light, the gnome, the damage to his siding. He'd already had the police report from that night, already had photos of everything, already had my witness statement and his own. I didn't even have to ask him. Honestly, he'd been wanting to do it since that night, but I told him to hold off. Now I told him go ahead. He went down to the courthouse on a Tuesday morning, filed the whole thing, and that kicked off a process that Jenna absolutely couldn't sweet-talk her way out of. But here's the part that actually mattered. Once the charges were filed, that created a court case. Public record. And once Jenna started getting calls about it, once her parents found out, once she had to actually get a lawyer, the mutuals started asking questions. Not to her, to me. Hey man, what actually happened? Jenna's saying one thing, but now I'm hearing about court stuff, one by one. Slow at first, then a bunch at once. I didn't argue, didn't explain, didn't give my side of the story. I just sent them the court records. The protective orders, public record. The police reports from both incidents, public record. Derek's criminal complaint with the itemized property damage, public record. No commentary from me. No, see, I told you so. Just the documents. One message, one link. Done. And I sat back and watched the whole thing collapse on her like a house of cards in a wind tunnel. Because here's the thing. When you spend 2 weeks telling everyone your ex was the abuser, and then public court records come out showing you were the one throwing rocks at someone's house at 1:30 a.m., you were the one who got escorted home by police. You were the one who got protective orders filed against you, and you were the one catching criminal charges for property damage. That story you built, it doesn't just fall apart. It explodes. And everyone you told it to now knows you lied to their face. I didn't have to say a single word. The paperwork said it all. Every mutual who'd been giving me the side-eye for 2 weeks suddenly went real quiet. A few of them texted me apologies. I didn't respond to those either. If you believed her without asking me first, we don't have anything to talk about. Jenna ended up having to pay Derek restitution for the porch light and the gnome. Had to take some kind of anger management class as part of a plea deal to knock it down from a misdemeanor. And the best part, the absolute best part, is that she did all of this to herself. Every single piece of evidence that destroyed her reputation was created by her own actions. I didn't make up anything. I didn't exaggerate anything. I just kept receipts and waited for the right moment to let them speak. One move. That's all it took. Everything else was just gravity. Last I heard, not because I was looking, just because news travels, Jenna and Brandon broke up like 3 weeks later. Turns out Brandon was also seeing someone else from the singing class. Some other girl who thought she was his special muse. The whole singing studio was basically a soap opera with vocal warm-ups. Brandon's SoundCloud? Still 14 followers. Still 12 bots. The dream lives on. I'm doing great now. New apartment, clean, quiet, no sticky notes anywhere except the one on my fridge that says, Steak Thursday, because I've got my priorities straight. Now, before I wrap up, OP dropped something in the comments that I can't stop thinking about. Remember how he mentioned he still had Jenna's mom's number saved in his phone? Well, she texted him. Last week, not Jenna. Her mother. Said she needs to talk to him about something important. And then she added, "It's not about getting back together. Now your first instinct is okay. Jenna sent mommy to do the dirty work. Classic. But OP said something about the way it was worded felt different, felt serious, felt heavy. Like this wasn't a please take my daughter back text. This was something else entirely. He hasn't responded yet. He's sitting on it. And that one line, it's not about getting back together, is keeping me up at night more than anything else in this entire story. Because if it's not about getting back together, then what on earth is it about? OP, whatever is in that message, we need the update. Get in these comments. Now, smash that like, subscribe, drop a comment. What would you have done? Share this with the friend who needs to hear it. You know who he is. Peace.